It could be one of those where a 1-year prove it minimum deal might work for both sides. You have to.
You got to think they wouldn't bring him in because Flores has some familiarity with him unless he was good.
Right. I mean, that's one of those where if Flores, they don't do it unless Flores is on board with it. They don't do it like, if you end up, say you draft a tackle in the first round, maybe you don't do it. But if they come out of the draft and they're still where they are at tackle, there's just certain situations like, no, he's not worth a lot of money. No, but whenever you're desperate and then you can get him for a 1-year prove it deal, those can be gold, so.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly something to look at. I mean, it sounds like, to have gotten that much money, it stuff happens, but I would certainly take a look at the guy and if Flores,
if it's a team friendly situation, if he comes in and he's a knucklehead you can't deal with, you get rid of him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Speaking of someone who's not a knucklehead, they're still talking about the potential trade of Jonathan Grenard. The Eagles are still interested. Apparently, all this stuff is steaming online. Anything new there? And is there a possibility the Vikings just can give him more money and keep him happy and keep him here? Are these, what are your thoughts?
They were barking at you now.
Yeah, they were. They don't like that idea of that. I guess get rid of him, trade him.
I told you what the solution is. You let it drag on, you give them a little bit more money, and then you have a press conference and you blame the media for causing all this animosity that just didn't exist, Joe. It's right out of the textbook. It's textbook stuff,
Doesn't Rob listen to you? Doesn't
yeah, well, I'm saying that, yeah, you float like the player floats the I'm not happy, I want traded. Then you look at their what they're making. He's making $19 million a year. Top guys are making now $40 million a year, $35 million a year. So there's this, I want to be traded. And then there's this lull where like the team's probably trying to keep it, trying to settle the waters. And then when they get, maybe they give them a little bit extra money. Probably wouldn't. They don't think they have the money to bring it. I'm just guessing, up to that kind of level. But if they satisfy him suddenly, then it's like, well, I always wanted to be here. The critics are all saying that I didn't want to leave this place. Then the catchphrase is always, these are the best fans in the NFL. And then everyone's happy. The media gets smacked on the butt, and everyone goes on their way, Joe.
Your favorite whipping boy. Well, we have to take another break because I got to go talk to these dogs and tell them exactly when to bark. The fact that they barked at when I was talking, that's wrong. Got to bark when Mark talks. You don't want any kibble. That's what you got to do. Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll come back with some more Vikings talk on Vikings Territory Breakdown. Okay, folks, welcome back to Vikings Territory Breakdown. I didn't hear anything from the dogs. They must be eating their treats or something. Mark, the Vikings are not huge buyers in free agency, so they still got some holes to fill. And are your safety, defensive line, wide receiver, a center for sure, center, and in your words, a dominant running back. Any changes in your mind about where they might end up in the draft, or is there still time in free agency for them to do something? They still could make sense.
Well, I think as you get closer to the draft, teams tend to hold off and let's see what we get in the draft and then reassess, because the initial players fly off the board, then there's kind of a second wave where sort of where they got the cornerback that they got, whose name escapes me. And then the draft, and then you kind of tidy up after the draft is what I would think.